First Linux UEFI Bootkit discovered, Unveiling Bootkitty and how to protect your systems, enhance your awareness, and stay up to date with our expert insights and real-world scenarios. Welcome back to the Cyber Analytic, where we delve into the latest news in cybersecurity threats, breaches, and trends. Enhance your awareness and stay up to date with our expert insights and real-world scenarios. By the end of the video, we'll transform today's topic into a compelling case study, providing you with valuable knowledge. Stay tuned. Identified by various experts, Bootkitty is the first UEFI bootkit intended for Linux kernels. Researchers in cybersecurity have clarified what exactly the first unified extensible firmware interface UEFI Bootkit meant, especially for Linux-based personal computers, consists of. Black Cat, the people in charge of the Bootkit, have called it Bootkitty. Considered a proof of concept, the Bootkit is not seen to have been used in any real-world assaults. Apart from its surveillance as Iranukit, it was posted to the VirusTotal website on November 5th, 2024. The main goals of the Bootkit, according to ESET researchers Martin Smolar and Peter Strichek, are to preload two unknown ELF binaries via the Linux init process and deactivate the signature verification mechanism of the kernel, the first process started by the Linux kernel during system boot up. This finding is important as it marks a change in the field of cyber threats by implying that UEFI bootkits are not limited to Windows PCs alone. This is a major breakthrough. One must realize that Bootkitty is authenticated using a self-signed certificate. Bootkitty cannot therefore be run on systems with UEFI Secure Boot enabled unless a certificate belonging to an attacker has been previously installed. Designed especially to start the Linux kernel and change, in memory, the answer of the function for integrity verification before the GNU Grand Unified Bootloader, or GRUB, is executed. This is true independent of the UEFI Secure Boot status, either active or inactive. If Secure Boot is enabled to circumvent the UEFI integrity checks, it will specifically intercept two functions from the UEFI authentication procedures. It then changes three particular processes within the real GRUB bootloader to evade further integrity tests. Moreover, it seeks to meddle with the Linux kernel's normal operation of the decompression mechanism, therefore enabling the loading of malicious modules. At last, it changes the LD preload environment variable so that two unknown ELF shared objects, opt injector.so and init, load at the start of the init process. According to the Slovakian cybersecurity team, their Bootkit research turned up a possibly connected unsigned kernel module called BC Dropper. Once the system has started, this module might use an ELF binary called BCObserver to install an unknown kernel module, tasked with implementing more rootkit capabilities, including the hiding of files and processes, as well as creating communication channels. The kernel module, Black Cat, after its designer, is, as of now, data points point to no connection between the attack and the ALPHV Black Cat ransomware organization. Regardless of its status as a proof of concept, Bootkitty represents a significant advance in the UEFI threat landscape, challenging the notion that contemporary UEFI bootkits are solely threats to Windows, researchers said, and they also underlined the need for readiness for prospective threats. Binarly, a software security company, disclosed in a later research on November 29, 2024, that a prototype UEFI Bootkit competent of infecting the Linux kernel is exploiting a vulnerability connected with LogoFail, CVE 2023-40238, CVSS score 5.5. This vulnerability allows hostile shellcode to be executed on UEFI firmware via change BMP files. Bootkitty uses this weakness. According to the release, the attack uses embedded shellcode within a BMP image to bypass secure boot protections by including illegal certificates into the mock list variable. What we can learn and how to prevent this. As cybersecurity experts, the discovery of Bootkitty, the first UEFI bootkit targeting Linux kernels, marks a significant shift in the cyber threat landscape. Traditionally, UEFI bootkits have been associated with Windows systems, but this new development shows that attackers are expanding their focus to include Linux platforms at the firmware level. Key takeaways: emerging threats to Linux systems. Bootkitty demonstrates that Linux systems are now being targeted by sophisticated firmware-level attacks, challenging the long-held belief that they are less vulnerable than Windows systems. Firmware security is crucial. The Bootkit exploits vulnerabilities in the UEFI firmware, highlighting the importance of securing firmware components and not just the operating system or applications. Bypassing secure boot protections. Bootkitty can bypass UEFI secure boot if an attacker control certificate is installed, emphasizing the need for strict certificate management and validation. Prevention strategies. 1. Keep firmware updated. Regularly check for and apply firmware updates from device manufacturers to patch known vulnerabilities like the one exploited by Bootkitty. 2. Enable and properly configure secure boot. Ensure that UEFI secure boot is enabled and configured correctly using trusted certificates only. 3. Implement strict access controls, limit physical and remote access to systems firmware settings to prevent unauthorized modifications. 4. Monitor for anomalies. Use security tools capable of detecting unusual behavior at the firmware level and conduct regular integrity checks. 5. Educate your team. Raise awareness among IT staff and users about firmware threats and the importance of comprehensive security measures. Engaging question. With firmware level threats like Bootkitty emerging for Linux systems, what steps are you taking to secure your devices at the firmware level? Do you believe organizations should prioritize firmware security as much as software security? Share your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, we'd appreciate it if you subscribe to our channel, give it a like, and share it with your friends. Thank you for watching.